And we are live. We're back, guys, with another episode of The Connection Loop. I'm your host, Darius Santos. And guys, we are here to interview our CEOs, leaders, revenue leaders, sales leaders, entrepreneurs, to provide you guys the information, the insight, the strategies, sometimes just entertainment of what's going on in our world, in our marketplace, and in our personal lives sometimes. So we like to go all around the mix, guys, different industries, different personas, different personalities, and bring you guys entertainment and some education. Hopefully you'll learn something very valuable from today. Guys, as you know, things have been changing dramatically, rapidly, very rapidly. In fact, advancements of technology and things which are in time also changing our ecosystem and our behaviors and just overall how we're operating our businesses. I have a special guest with us today, Rodman. He's going to be teaching us some important things about leaderships from where we're coming from, right? From a revenue standpoint. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce him. He's going to take it away, share some things. Guys, if you have some questions, things in the chat, we don't usually take such a close look, but if you drop them in there, we will respond. So feel free to contribute. Rodman, I want you to take it away. What do we got for us today?
Well, Darius, first and foremost, thanks for having me. This is an absolute pleasure to be on here. And, you know, had I known it was going to be some level of entertainment value, I probably would have come with some voices or some singing, maybe some revenue raps. Yeah, something. But we're going to focus more on what I would consider the enablement side of things, and hopefully providing some insights and some education relative to just the shifting in the narrative away from what I would consider a very robust economy, you know, pre-pandemic, to where we are today, where not only employees, but, you know, consumers and companies are all being kind of tasked with doing more with less, fewer resources, fewer budget dollars, fewer personnel. But the cool thing is the rate of change relative to innovation with Gen AI and these large language models that are in front of us are just amazing. And I think there's a lot of different use cases that we can all explore. I'm not going to go into those today, but there, you know, if you go out to my LinkedIn page, which Darius can show at the end, there are some resources that I've captured relative to whether it's free learning or some applications that are available, both free and paid. But there's so much out there to unpack, and I'm advising some pre-revenue and some VC-backed organizations on go-to-market structure right now, and it's just crazy and insane how fast innovation is changing right beneath our noses. So, really, what Darius and I want to talk about, or what I'm going to talk about more here, is optimizing our kind of our go-to-market, and really focusing on what I consider 4 key pillars, with the 5th as the underlying common denominator across the 4. So Darius, as we talked about earlier, the 4 pillars are people, pipeline, productivity, and process. And when you get those right, the cool thing about it is the possibilities are endless or limitless. So if you've got the graphic
there we go,
available for our viewing audience, let's start with people. At the end of the day, people are the most important. It's the folks that you are hiring and attracting to your organization. It's how are you developing them to ensure that they are delivering against the objectives of the organization, and are you giving them the right tools, technology, and what I would consider wellness opportunities to ensure that they're bringing their best selves to.
Rob, I was going to say, can I interrupt you just for a second?
Of course.
I just want to bring our audience, guys. Remember the last several leaders we've interviewed, and some of them had to focus about building the team and about how that's changed this year, this time. Look at the consistencies here. Every leader that we've had there, it's no longer about just like mass hiring and having everybody compete with each other. It's about making strategic, important investment hires, somebody that's going to grow with you, somebody that's going to learn these types of technologies. Those have been the consistencies, others, but the development of those employees and then the wellness of the people that are doing. Like, you want to retain your top talent, or someone's going to take them, right? They're going to find better opportunities that are arising every day to capture their attention and take them from you. So if you have top producers, you have internal talent doing well, we need to make sure that development is getting the people that aren't top talent to that talent, and making sure that we're providing opportunities to maintain the talent that we have. So people, guys, it's consistent across every leader we interview. That's the one element that's the same: the investment in the teams that we have, and the shrinking of teams in general. Very consistent across every leader. Sorry to interrupt you there, Rodman, but just to point out, totally different presentation, totally different topic, but the similarities still lie in how we're needing to treat our team members.
Yeah, 100%. And when I think about the hiring component, there's kind of three things that I focus on. It's fit, skill, and will. So making sure, both from a cultural fit and an experience perspective, that they're bringing good talent, good vibes, good energy, good experience to the table. But at the same time, they are able to show, based on their previous experience or their previous employer or the previous things that they've done, that they have the chops, they have the grit necessary to kind of get through the challenging selling environment that we're in today. It's not like you can just show up and turn the order machine on anymore. It requires a lot of due diligence, a lot of research and point of view creation to align to the challenges the customer is trying to solve for, and then having a really strong kind of perspective relative to connecting the dots between the art of the possible, the challenge and the pain that they're experiencing, and then ultimately the solution creation. So we've probably we can probably go on to the next one, which is pipeline. And again, these aren't, I would say people is the most important, but at the end of the day, pipeline, productivity, and process are all very interconnected. So, the way that I've conveyed the importance of pipeline to my revenue teams historically and even today, really the role of the seller and the demand gen engine that's part of the team and marketing at the end of the day, it's really three things: you're building pipe, you're progressing pipe, you're closing pipe. And as a salesperson, if you're not doing one of those three things in your daily operation, you have to ask yourself, what are you doing? So that's really how I break down pipe. It's pretty simple. It's you're building, you're progressing, you're closing.
I was going to say too, on that same thread, we were, and again, similar discussions with other leaders around pipeline. We used to throw people at the problem, right? We could do that. Like in the hyper growth phase, you could hire 10 people, throw them at the pipeline and say, come fill this thing up. And that was an effective solution, because they were going to figure out, like, hey, I need a job. I can call somebody. Software company, or companies were buying bigger deals. Like this world existed and functioned really well before COVID happened. And then COVID came, some things kind of mixed things up. There was a weird time just during COVID where people were still trying to figure things out. It's now after. It is post-COVID. The behaviors have changed and they are not the same as they were before. We could no longer just hire more people and throw them at the pipeline problem. We have to figure out, as the leadership, we have to redevelop this system, the building, the progression, the closing of the pipeline. Unless you're going to hire unless you're a founder-led company, and you're hiring your sales leader to come do this for you, you're not going to hire a junior rep that's going to come figure this stuff out. They're not going to come solve your problems for you. That's why this is in the leadership problem. This is a leadership problem. If you are having problems in pipeline, we as the leaders need to come and solve them. We need to build out the process that's a rinse and repeatable process. We can't expect an SDR or something to come just throw them at the problem and they're going to solve it. We need to build a refined process that you can potentially come drop one SDR or one sales rep into and, replace. You step back. Your top producer now focus on closing and put someone else into the pipeline. But just throwing people at the problem is not going to solve it anymore, guys. That it's just like you used to be able to just send more emails, hire more people. Like those were the simpler solutions to these problems that do not work anymore these days, guys. It's unless you're in some untapped market, who knows what that is. Everyone's very competitive. Everyone has a competitor. Everyone's trying to do things online, and we need to be smarter and different than we were years ago. pipeline included. It's not just a throw people at it problem anymore. We need to be strategic about it. And it requires you as the leader to come redevelop this process. 2024, 2025 is going to be very different than previous years. So get in front of this problem before it gets worse.
Very well said. 10 years ago, when we didn't have the same challenges that we face today, it was just a matter of capacity. If I add more sellers and put more feet on the street, my output is going to be, X yield better than it was. Today, it's not the case. It's looking at efficiency metrics like conversion rates, looking at the number of activities that lead to meetings that lead to ultimately pipeline, and then those conversion rates kick in relative to close. So it does take, I wouldn't say data scientists, but leveraging your RevOps team, leveraging sales strategy, and having them really dive deep into the data. The cool thing about it is there's no organization out there that's not capturing copious amounts of data. It's what you do with that data that creates the insights. Those insights create wisdom and action. And if you don't take action on those wisdom insights, you're never going to learn. You're not going to progress. So
sorry, one more thing, guys. Does that sound familiar? Between everybody that we interview, does data not come up in every single conversation? 2 years, 3 years ago, data would come up, but people are like, oh yeah, data. Oh yeah. No, we're using data. Salespeople, leaders, sales leaders, revenue leaders, sales ops. We are having to make more intelligent decisions. You can't just go send 1 million emails anymore. It doesn't work. Technically you could try. It's not going to work though. What you need to do instead is find the smarter contacts that you're actually going to send that content to. That is where the data is going to come in, is going to help you make these more informed decisions. And it's not a thing of the future. It's not a thing of, oh, well, I'll leave that to the data scientists. No, guys, we need to understand this ourselves now. That's a consistent element. You're probably going to hear from every unless we're talking about purely entertainment, you're going to hear that. I believe data is a tool that we need to leverage now, just like picking up the phone or picking up an email. We need to be able to leverage data to use our intelligence and our time more wisely. Who are you going to pick up the phone and call? That's what data is going to tell you to do. How many emails you're going to send to who. You can't just blanket spread things anymore. It's not that, those are gone.
Those days don't work. Yep, you're 100% accurate. Just moving on, I know, just doing a quick time check. There's a couple of other topics that I'll cover, and then we can wrap up. But productivity, again, there's kind of three things that I think about from a productivity perspective. First and foremost would be, what is the revenue contribution that the AEs are delivering to the business, and is it consistent? And if it's not, why not? And number two is, do they understand what their minimum contribution should be based on the segment of market or the industries that they're calling on? Mm-hmm. And again, you could leverage kind of an average sales price to really understand the medium or mean revenue contribution that an AE should be delivering to the business on a quarterly basis. In the enterprise space, where quotas on average are anywhere from $1 million to $1.8 million, the minimum revenue contribution per AE or per seller on a quarterly basis should be $100K. Right. Again, the next quadrant, which is 10-4-2-1, is kind of it's an activity metric. Mm-hmm. And if you're doing the bare minimum relative to the 10-4-2-1, it should be pretty easy to get to 100K minimum revenue contribution on a quarterly basis. But 10-4-2-1 is something that's been around for a long time. It's a way for an AE to truly measure, what does good look like? Like, I wake up Monday morning and I start pounding, emails or picking up the phone or answering Slack messages. Do I really, can I measure my success for the week? And the way that I think about it is 10 customer meetings, 4 demos, 2 new opportunities piped, 1 deal closed. And if you can get through your week and you've done those 4 things, that your pipeline is you're going to continue to build pipe, you're going to continue to progress pipe, you're going to continue to close pipe. Right. Your ability to hit that minimum revenue contribution is simple. But if you wake up on Monday morning, you have no idea what a successful week is going to look like, you're going to continue to do what most people do, which is, great, Friday afternoon, what did I just do? I have no idea.
No, I love this. And whether you are in a producing role yourself or from a leadership position, you need to manage this. You need to own the pipeline and the productivity, the expectations. You cannot possibly hire a salesperson and not have these clear expectations, milestones, markers for them to hit. You need to have all these things in place in order for people to perform, up to them. And if you don't know what they are and you're expecting someone else to figure that out, then that is a full sales leadership type role that you're looking to hire. So you either have to learn, master, adopt these things yourself, or you're looking to hire a sales leader to do them for you. But don't hire like a VA or a junior sales rep and put these types of responsibilities on them, because either A, they're an amazing person and they're going to rise to meet this demand and there's your new partner, or they're going to say, wow, I was not hired for this level of expectation. I can call people, I can door knock. This is too much. So setting the expectations, I think, is really critical, but you have to first understand them yourself before you can set them for others.
100%. We have an acronym we use called RAMP. It's Revenue Activities Meeting Pipeline. And essentially, revenue is a function of those other inputs, activities, metrics, or activities, meetings, pipeline.
Yeah.
And ultimately, those are going to dictate where you land from a revenue contribution perspective. So we belabored this one. I'll move on to process. We'll hit this high at a high level, and then we'll move on to kind of possibilities and then just wrap up.
Let's do it.
If that works for you, Darius. So, process can be defined in a lot of different ways. And at the end of the day, I think the key for process from a revenue perspective is ensuring that you have great alignment with your cross-functional teammates. And I mean, for me, is there a selling methodology that's being leveraged, and has everybody been trained on it? Right. Do you speak from the same language? Are you using it in your CRM system to really understand the various stages within the sales process? And are there predefined gates from an exit criteria perspective so that all right, I'm moving from stage 2 to stage 3. Do I know what it takes to go from stage 2 to stage 3? Again, this builds on the progress from a pipe perspective we talked about earlier. MSP is a mutual success plan. Again, this is like table stakes, but so many sellers out there are not leveraging mutual action plans or mutual success plans. This is just a document, typically done in email and or could be done in video, where you're aligning with the customer in terms of what does value creation look like? How do we define that together? And what are the steps necessary with dates and action owners to get us there? And then ultimately it's operational cadence. And operational cadence is, how are we measuring the success of the business? What are the key things that we're looking at to ensure that we're doubling down on the things that are working? What do we need to optimize where there might be some concerns that we're looking at relative to the data insights that we talked about earlier? And then again, just putting all of this stuff into practice relative to a calendar that the cross-functional teams aligned on, so that it's everybody's got buy-in and commitment to.
No, I love it. It's a combination of several things here, guys. With the process, one is sales and marketing, right? Or your SDR, BDRs, and AEs. Everyone's got to communicate. It's got to be streamlined. There's got to be clear milestones. I know initially we didn't have MSPs. We were just like, here's Dubb. Dubb is awesome. Yeah. Check it out. And they're like, here, what does success look like? You send a video. That's success. No, but then in our enterprise accounts, it became clear that, like, well, what is success here? It's like, we're looking for an incremental improvement in XYZ. And then, so having that, guys, if you aren't doing MSPs in your bigger accounts, like, that should be a standard part of your operating procedures. That is success. And this is what your competitors are doing. This is what the alternative sources and technologies that you're competing with. Maybe they're not your direct competitor, but if someone in a different industry is sending over their MSPs and they're like, wow, this experience is really good. I understand what success looks like. I understand everything throughout the sales process. It's so clear and defined. And then over here, it's just like a mess. Like, I don't even know, where is this even at? So don't let yourself look bad by comparison. Realize that there are standard operating procedures within a sales process. It needs to be defined. It needs to be repeatable. It needs to be teachable. And then you need to have a clear understanding of, like, what your sales cycle is. I can't tell you how many clients, what's your sales cycle? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, you don't know, it's a day, a week, a month? They're like, well, sometimes it's a month, sometimes it's a day. Sometimes I'm okay. Well, we need averages. We need data to make informed decisions on. So guys, if you felt that you have a weakness in any one of these items, this is a call to action. This is a sign. They're like, A, let's come talk to Rodman. B, do your Google research on your own. Get to a place of understanding so that you don't feel like any of this is going over your head. There's no excuses these days anymore, guys. It's 5 seconds on Google or Chat GPT or whatever it is. We don't have the excuses, and neither do your competitors, and neither did everyone else in the world and marketplace that we're competing it with. So this is your sign, your call to action to take action and level up your game if you're unfamiliar with any of these. I think we got one more piece, right? Let's take it.
If I were to wrap it all up in a final like red bow, it would be the fifth P is the possibilities are endless. And if you're doing the people, pipeline, productivity, and process well, and you're leveraging your cross-functional team and you've got great alignment across these four, at the end of the day, the outputs and the possibilities are truly limitless. So with that said, appreciate the opportunity, Darius. Any final questions or comments for me?
I would say, guys, how can we get in touch with you, Rodman? We have the LinkedIn here. I think if we want to connect on LinkedIn is the perfect place to start. What are we willing to do? Or you have some information you want to share with them, or what can they get if we want to know more? Like, hey, I want to do Google. I'd rather hear it from the mouth. So
yeah, that's fair. I mean, I'm happy to share my personal email address as well if you've got questions or you want to double click on any of these topics in greater detail. You can certainly find me on LinkedIn at that link that's provided here on the page. If you want to send me a direct email, that email address is really easy. It's first name, last name @gmail.com, which is rodmanlikes@gmail.com.
Got one in there now.
Look forward to engaging with you with any questions or comments that you might have.
And he mentioned he's working with some pre-revenue, some existing companies. So he's already advising people. So this is not something that it's unfamiliar territory for him. So if you guys need some help, you may find some really good guidance here.
Yeah, please reach out. Look forward to having the conversation with you.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. That's been our time, guys. We'll catch you on the next one. Thanks again, everybody. Happy Monday.